Back-to-back Six Nations titles for the Irish folks. 17-13 winners over the Scots. Was that Peter O'Mahony's last game? As I said here, it hasn't quite been announced. The sun is just coming up. Second of 3 games this Super Saturday. But yeah, Scotland hung on with a bloody huge defensive shift against Irish pressure. And the Irish were made to kind of just sweat a little bit at the end, but ultimately, like I said, it's a back-to-back Six Nations campaign for them, which is not an easy thing to do. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Like I said, potentially Peter O'Mahony's last game. He had seemingly a few tears in the build-up to that one. Little wave to the camera. So we'll see if the rumours are true kind of soon enough. If it is true, then it'll be a heck of a way for him to go out. Late changes to both sides as well, with Jordan Larmour coming in for an injured Hugh Keenan, and Miller Mills dropping off the bench for the Scots, replaced by Javin Sebastian, who Royal Nugent, on my commentary, referred to as Javin Sebastian. Maybe make his name just a little bit more exotic. It's Javin as far as I'm aware, but unplanned changes for both sides going into the kickoff. Game starts pretty tentatively, to be fair. Dan Sheehan wins the penalty of the breakdown early. Christie charges down James Lowe, so pretty tentative. First points on the board actually go to the Scots with, I think it was James Lowe having a wee kind of extra crawl on the ground. So pinged for that, and Russell punished it with a penalty to make it 3-0. Ireland had a chance 5 metres out. Line out got shut down, pushed into touch. It's on 12 minutes, and I'm kind of shaking my head because the Irish did score 5 metres out, but it wasn't from their own throw. It was from the Scottish throw, which was just overthrown. And Dan Sheehan just pounced on it. So 5th try of the campaign for him. And if you're a Scottish fan looking back on how this game ended up panning out, that's a pretty brutal try to be conceding. But it was a gift. 7 points to 3. The Scots replied pretty much immediately with a penalty again, so they were getting good return from points every time they went to the red zone, but that gift of a try is still one that will burn. Neither side was really able to crack open the other one kind of defensively. Like Scotland on attack conceded a couple of penalties at the breakdown, and Ireland, Crowley would opt for the boot a few times. I mean, it had worked by getting that, why not go for the boot into touch if you can win the opposition line-out ball and potentially get a try? But no, nothing was really coming of it. McDowell had a big line break after beating Archie kind of one-on-one. The Irish scrum was getting on top, so the threat was there for both sides to potentially crack this game open, but it didn't really happen at the first half. Scotland did get pinged for obstruction. Crowley had a shot but pushed that one wide. But maybe my favourite moment of the first half was Jamison Gibson-Park just defensively tracking from a Scottish scrum feed. He tries to get his hands on Ben White but can't quite get in before he passes it. So he keeps tracking the ball. I think the next pass goes to, was it McDowell? But he tracks him, and then he passes, and then Finn Russell gets the ball, and you better believe he tackles him. So really disruptive of that Scottish set play. So great work rate from him. He gets man of the match in this game. But yeah, both sides wanted to keep playing. As the clock went into the red, Kinghorn got pinged for a high tackle after chasing a kick through on Nash, but nothing doing. So halftime 7-6, just the 1 point in it. Ireland have had a lot more run meters, 286 to 137. They've had 60% of the ball. Scotland's had to make 124 tackles to 67. At that point, I'm thinking, how well will Scotland be able to hold out this Irish defence when you do have to make that many tackles? Like for one half, maybe. For 2 halves, it's a tough ask, but they do it pretty well. Ireland will be not happy with the fact that they conceded 12 turnovers to Scotland's 6, so a little bit kind of lacking that clinical edge. And clean breaks was 2-1. So pretty low, like defensive systems not being totally broken down, like I mentioned. Second half starts with a bit of intent from Ireland. Xander Ferguson concedes a penalty to breakdown. Ireland duly slot that one, so it takes it out to a 10-6 lead. And it stays 10-6 for ages, and Ireland just camped themselves in the Scottish half. I mean, Finn Russell's rushed restart goes out on the full, which doesn't help things, which means it's a scrum. The scrum concedes a penalty for Scotland, so the Irish go for a line-out. They go through some phases. They get advantage. Sheehan taps the advantage. Furlong looks like he's gone over, but they rule that one is, because it's an on-field no try, that they rule that there's been separation. There's 2 TMO calls in this game. I think that one was closer. You could argue that his thumb was on the ball the whole time, but either way, they don't give him the try. Scotland were hanging on. Their scrum was getting monster. Nash looked like he was in for all money. It looks like the Scottish defenders had kind of overrun his kind of jink back inside, but they managed to keep him out. The Irish maul went close. They had advantage into Ringrose knocking it on. At this point in the second half, Ireland have had 77% territory, which is insane. The Scots had seemingly a chance when James Lowe dropped a ball from a kick through, but then they immediately lost it. So Ringrose had a big old line break down the wing, but he wasn't quicker than Duhan van der Merwe. So, yeah, it's one of those ones where you're wondering if Ireland don't score here, and then, Scotland can kind of hit them on the counter, that could be a big psychological blow. But eventually the try does come. I mean, Henshaw was close as well, but TMO ruled that Redpath had done pretty well to hold him up, which I think was pretty clear. But Ashman got yellow carded for too many penalties conceded. They hadn't conceded, they conceded a few in their defensive sets, but there's kind of 3 quickfire advantages in a row. So that means Ashman's got to go. And this time, the tap and go from Kelleher pops it to Porter, and it's over 17-6 with 80% territory, 69% possession in the second half. Is looking like it's not quite unassailable, but it's looking like a long way back for the Scots because they don't have any ball. Scotland, though, only conceded the 1 score during the yellow card because they conceded the first one 30 seconds into the yellow card. So the fact that they only conceded that 1 score during that yellow card, I think, is pretty good. They had to start running everything to chase the game. And then Harry Byrne gets himself yellow carded for a head-v-head contact with Russell. So the Scots have got 5 minutes to score twice with an extra man. Can they do it? My note is nah, probably not, but bloody hell. Hugh Jones, virtually a minute or 2 later, Scotland are going through a bunch of phases with kind of a little bit of go forward, and then just beats Henshaw 1-on-1. So Hugh Jones goes through, makes it 17-13, which is proper squeaky bum time for the Irish. They need to go length of the field to the Scots, and then Matt Ferguson knocking it on was pretty much game. So, yeah, maybe not. How do you feel about that one? I want to say kind of not that convincing, but the Irish territory position in the second half was very convincing. They had an absolute stranglehold on that game. But they would be disappointed they didn't get more points, to be fair. I mean, run meters 480 to 333. Possession 59-41. Territory 63-37. So pretty dominant. But then for all that dominance, clean breaks is 4 each. And defenders beaten is 25-20 to Scotland. So the Scotland defensive shift was immense, man. 236 tackles at 92% is a Herculean effort compared to the Irish 118 tackles at 83%, which is not that flash. But, I mean, to hang on to the ball as much as they did is very. Penalties conceded 13 by Scotland, just the 4 by the Irish. So, certainly the scrum and other areas of the game under a bit of pressure. Nash beats 6 defenders. Aki beats 2, has 2 clean breaks, has 48 metres. Doris has 44 metres, which I think is more than every other starting loose forward combined. Peter Amani, if it is his last game, 12 from 13 tackles. Good shift from him as well. But the Scots, man, just look at the tackle numbers. Dempsey, 20 from 20. Like, if you can get one guy to 20 tackles, that's usually a pretty big effort. And the Italians, it's usually Larmour gets 20. Everyone else doesn't get 20. Dempsey, 20 from 20. Zander, 22 from 22. Christie, 26 from 27. Cummings, 25 from 26. Just shift after shift after shift from these Scottish players. Gave them a chance to pinch it, but not quite. Not quite. So, yeah. Well done, Ireland, man. Like I said, back-to-back Six Nations is a pretty massive achievement. And then, Tour to South Africa coming up in a wee while, but that's looking mighty tasty. I don't think I've seen what the Scottish fixtures are, but there's a bit of talk about them potentially heading to North America, so kind of have to wait and see. You guys let us know your thoughts on the game. once again, congratulations to Ireland on that trophy. And there is still one game to go, England against France, but no silverware on the line for that one. And Scots miss out on that triple crown. But yeah, better shift than they had against the Italians the week before. You guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.